done a fellowship. This panel is a fellowship. It's named City Life, right? So it's street photography. The panel belongs to Martin, so please, Martin has got a statement over there, and he's going to read it for you.
Sure. As John said, the title is City Life. I started this project around 5 years ago when I decided that it was time to take up the challenge of obtaining a fellowship. I used to go out and practice street photography very often, doing research and studying life in the streets. Going out, shooting and returning with nothing good was still a success, as the shoot served as a training session for my mind and life. Failure was not actually going out to shoot. My inspirations at first came from Henry Cartier-Bresson and Van Gogh, and lately Mark Vernier. In fact, some of my work in this panel reflects their influence. I follow these street photographers to remain inspired and learn, but I make sure I do not copy them. I have learned to be the hunter and the fisherman while shooting street photography. Being a hunter was going around to find that candid shot or character passing by in the street. As a fisherman, it was finding a composition and background and wait for the right subject to pass. This requires patience, time, and often the study of light and how it affects the areas I am shooting in. I'm not sure. This included photographing scenes with harsh sunlight and deep shadows in a minimalistic way, using the drama of high contrast. In my images, the people are the actors, performing for me in the scene I want. This creates a simultaneous coalition, where part of the image is composed, the background composition, whilst the other part is spontaneous, the passerby. I visit London very often, and I consider it my second home. I decided to do this panel with a mixture of images taken in Malta and London. Malta is my home country, and London my second home. Both places have a interesting mixture of old and new buildings and diverse cultures. Apart from street photography, I strive to document people and their way of life. I kept the editing part of these images very near to the journalistic roots, which is the nature of my work. I converted the images into black and white as I wanted to give the viewers the feel of the past and present, as well as reduce color conflict. I feel that this City Life Fellowship journey is another of my main involvements in my photographic journey and career, and I look forward to future challenges. Thank you.
But all the judges would like to say something. It's a fellowship, and it deserves a comment from all the judges.
Final microphone. It's really quite a pity. I think we all agree that there's a lot of potential, but we all felt that there was a lack in some areas. I think one of the major ones is cohesion. It's a bit hodgepodge. We quite like the architectural element, and I think one of the comments was that it would have been possibly better to focus on an architectural panel with human element. But when it comes to street photography, it lacks a particular impact. Now, I'm not saying that this is a general for the the panel. This image is brilliant. In my view, this image is brilliant. This is good, but I think that it does lack that kind of contrast, interaction. Judges will point out others, but I really like this one as well. And this one is very interesting as well. So I think that there is way to work, but there is an important aspect when thinking about street photography, in my view, is these contrasts, this narrative, the mystery, the curiosity. You know, like when you look at this image, for example, you know, what's he looking at? You know, there's that mystery, that thing that makes you want to interact and and question, you know, and look deeper into the image. For example, with this image, I didn't fully get the narrative of it, not immediately. But I will leave the other judges to fill in.
I mean, the first thing that strikes you when you look at the panel is that it sort of pulsates. I mean, some images are really high contrast compared to what's next to them. I don't know how wise it was to shoot part of it in a country and part of it in another, because seriously, this is brilliant. I like this one too. Tonal range in some prints. I can't see it here, for example. Here it's a bit flat. But mostly the first impression is exact. I mean, this is a good one, and again, it's a bit some contrast. But some images pop out, and this graph on the floor, like this one, too bright an area here, and that's how much level, you know, the cohesion is very much needed. Some cropping which highlights, which distract from the main narrative. That's what I have to say.
As I've said, the main thing when I came out and saw it up there was the lack of cohesion. Two things I noticed: the lack of cohesion, and although there is a lot of detail in every area of the prints, I feel it needed to be a bit more brought up in contrast. Question mark. Maybe the wrong paper was used. I know it's a great paper for bringing out detail, but the feeling I get when I'm looking at them that they underprint. There is too much grays. You can't see the blacks in them. I think the author should have either concentrated, as the others said, on a panel which was mainly architectural main subject, which are not meaning like architecture of the human element, actually, as a main subject, or the people as the main subject. As it is, it just doesn't blend. There are a lot of gaps. Some images, for me, this was an image which I was not sure about either. This one, and the guy is more or less like he's a bit posing. I'm sure if the author could have moved slightly here, it's easy to say, but this really jives. Okay, it's street photography, but then there is street photography and street photography. For example, as we said, there are some really wonderful images, 1, 2, 3. But then others seem to be like this one, for example, also with the printing in the white. It's like the author didn't have the right image, and unfortunately, I don't agree, because the way that Martin, we've seen a lot of good work from Martin, and I think it's much better than some of the images. There are some which are outstanding, but some of them, I'm sure, he has better images. I'm really sorry about this, but it seems that even as judges, we're nearly all on the same wavelength.
So this project brings together a representational cross-section of Charles Azzopardi's work in dance photography and comprises images of the precision and power of the human body and anatomy. For this panel, the images have been collected into a series that together transcend any one finger-fixed image. Each group of works becomes a resonant field of forms and figures, forming shifting sculptures of form, anatomy, and design. This presentation of Azzopardi's work in dance brings a fresh perspective from a medical doctor's eye, trained in anatomy, analyzing dance and photography through a new lens, always aiming to capture that decisive movement, that most elusive yet intriguing of photographic subjects, namely human anatomy in motion. Capturing the graceful forms of dancers in flight by chiseling a moment in time into an impactful sculpture, Azzopardi's photographs attempt to reveal what the human eye most frequently cannot see. A Charles Azzopardi photograph intends towards technical mastery with a more loose and lyrical expressiveness. Shooting dance live, in brackets, none of these were even posed or shot during rehearsal settings, has been described by my mentor in New York as akin to shooting a sport in near complete darkness, most frequently at ISOs of 12,800, without actually knowing the rules of the sport. So many sharply detailed moments that resonate as sturdy, spellbound, and suggestive. Amazingly, these images were captured very early in Charles Azzopardi's artistic development as a visual artist in the medium of photography, and were done with very basic analog and digital equipment. Throughout this project, Azzopardi spent time touring with several international and local dance companies, while always paying close attention to the meaningful principles behind visual black and white aesthetics. Moreover, what Azzopardi always tried to achieve through his photograph is a painterly quality. Azzopardi is trying to lead the viewer to a keener appreciation of the transformative opportunities still radiant in the world, not just all that endures and is timeless, but that which is evanescent, transitory, and is only here for a starting instant and gone forever, except when we remain frozen in Charles Azzopardi's principles.
Congratulations, this is a very clear path. Now, Joe, can you say something about the camera?
Yes, definitely a difficult genre of photography to shoot and come up with these results. I have been there, as many of you know, so I can appreciate the challenge and the technicalities that photographers have to face. A couple of things which we all agree about, like as a standalone print is brilliant, but we don't think that in the overall scheme of things it really fits as a can. Some technicalities, like there's a slight burning in here, which really is sort of a technical drawback. But otherwise, I'm not sure. I had doubts about this, if it was overshadowed, but I think it looks like there's a front projection on the images, on the dancers and the props. So there is that. So I got past that, but it almost, you know, this is a masterpiece on its own. I mean, perfect timing, perfect, I don't know, rich blacks, which can be heavily given in stage photography. Yeah, but otherwise, our main, which we pointed out together, was that this is brilliant as a standalone image, but maybe in the grand scheme of things, and you know, a couple of little things that was burning in here. Otherwise, congratulations.
The other comments from the other judges? Basically, we all agree on the same things. It's a beautiful planet, well done, fantastic. Joe said everything about the rest. The only thing I would like to point out is maybe the choice of paper. I wouldn't go for something glossy like this. I would have opted for something like a cotton rag, something matte, not. But it's a beautiful planet, well done. Well done.
Okay, so it's just for the records, because the plus mark was 270 and we got 284, so well above the plus mark.
Maximum was?
Maximum was 300. Right. Thank you very much, Josh. Forse non sta stata fatica un po', lasciami fare la regola. This is a documentary, it's a license aid. Alright, so that's why it's being judged on as a digital panel. Alright. Obviously, you want to look at the images one by one. I've got images there on the bridge. So individually, you can see the message.
Our overall impression was that it lacks cohesion. There are some really good images. Joe pointed out the one from the saloon, which I agree with him because it's raw. It's raw, and that. And that actually falls under the documentary category. My reaction was that this is not documentary. This is at most storytelling. Every image is clearly posed. When you're documenting something, you're documenting life. It's not it's not a magazine shoot. This was worked more in the form of a magazine shoot. We think that like this image, for example, this is beautiful, but then there are elements that are forced. Sort of even the idea that putting a mosque in every image, it's forcing it. It's forcing the theme, forcing trying to spoon feed the viewer. Photography is not about spoon feeding the viewer. Photography is about sort of leading them to something very gently.
Saying more or less.
Exactly. Here, you're kind of saying less with more.
This is very good, for example.
Yes, This is one of those really good images, you know, because it feels there's a certain rawness to it, you know, there is a detail, it's subtle. Here, sort of, this is interesting, but again, sort of why the use of the double exposure. There is an overuse of technicalities as well in some of this work. This is too busy, this is overdone. And for example, you know, the mask. Why? You know, why do you need to put the mask over there? There were some images that were clearly fillers like this, for example. You know, it has no narrative within the whole story, basically. You know, too busy, too much, you know. So I think that sort of there is some technical excellence, and I think that there is a lot of potential, but try to go for more subtlety. You know, again, you know, the image before this, you know, it's forced. You know, it's not documentative. You're forcing it a little too much. You know, and that is, I think, in general, again, too busy. You know. This I liked. There could be some sort of a little more effort in trying to make the message a bit clearer as well. So there is a very fine and important balance to achieve in documentary and even in storytelling, and that is to be able to sort of allow the viewer to understand what you are trying to show them without actually telling them.
And COVID has forced us to do things which we never expected to do. So even documenting those simple things like the leather with all the stuff on it, you know, doing some house jobs or whatever.
This is yes. It really doesn't fit. I mean, it could be you know, something that you would put in a magazine, but it's definitely not documented. This one we felt that it felt like it was composed. That the persons were added afterwards. Either it's the editing, or I mean, there was something wrong about the people when we were looking at it. Either it's the edge over here, and so far.
Looking away from the TV.
Yeah.
It's not.
No, but I mean, something feels off, basically, when maybe it's the edge. But I don't know, is there anything
But
else?
as you know, I mean, as a mode of encouragement to the author, if you would focus on this type of in this place, you know, I mean, just look around the house.
I mean, I would have rather gone for like empty boxes of pizza, for example. You know, for example, that would have said a story. You know, that would have documented. You know, stacks of empty boxes of pizza, for example. I mean, that gives a sense of the feeling. You know, without actually, you know, spoon feeding the viewer.
Challenge yourself, you know what I mean?
The pass mark for licensing is 255. Well done, you got 281. The pass mark is 255, you got 281, it's a pass. Process.
Where do we eat now?
They will complete the answer.
It's a very beautiful pen. I really liked it. The only image which
the least I like is this one. And the chips are insomma. It's very nice. I like it a lot. I would have cropped it this way, in my landscape, not like that, to take the diagram. But overall, beautiful. Well done.
I had sort of one comment that I had was about the two images with the human element. They're really nice on their own, and but when you're looking at it from a panel point of view, they kind of break the rhythm of it, you know. So for the future, kind of, you know, especially if you're then going into an associate level, these things start making more noise. Let's put it this way. And I think that a little bit more care for management of highlights. There are some foods that are a bit. There's one that she said is a food. And it's a puja and the chismo, and then there was one that was and the basil over there. They need to be controlled. I mean, even if you get to the point where you do, you know, HDRs, I mean, it's a static element, you know. I mean, sort of if you don't have a, you know, a more diffuse light source. You know, it should be quite easy to take multiple shots.
Did you also do the food styling, right?
Yes, I
I mean, that was one of the comments. It's meticulous. It's really
Usually
good.
photographers and the food stylists who prepare something just shoot. I like to admire the angle here and even the design skills, like,
yes,
you know, I mean,
this one.
I
That's
totally agree with Keith about this, which is, you know, composition and.
It's like an photo. That's the only thing which I.
But the differential focus is beautiful here, you know.
I mean,
I love the dynamics going on here.
I love I love those running little pieces of sage over there. I think it's sage. Anyway, I mean, that really makes, for me, it really makes the photo, you know. I mean, I really like the composition in terms of the shots and in terms of the. Something like this, you know, you could have removed that little top thing, you know, from there. It kind of breaks a little bit, you know. So, but they're details, you know. They will become more important at associate level, but at this point, they really.
From the license, you don't make it. It's very good.
Bonello.
Well done.
Rose.
The lights. Process, it's a pass. The total score is 261 out of 255. There were some issues, obviously, the judges can maybe mention some of these. However, well done, process.
Overall, there was one image that really stuck out as not being part of it, which is this one. It's not a bad image in itself, but it really jars with the rest of the palette. So, and then it's, you know, it's right in the center, you know, and so what look I make below, you know.
I would have included more of the door, right? put it to one side maybe? Or?
I think that overall, this one sort of is maybe not clear enough.
What
She's
she's
doing
what's happening?
and so on. It's very nice, lighting is nice and so on. Sort of technically this one, is a little slightly maybe overblown. The way the leg is chopped off, is a bit uncomfortable.
And the
balustrades are going right through his head. This one, yes.
But that's surfaces, yeah.
I think that it has so much potential. All you needed to do was shift the camera to the right, and create more tension. Eliminate the window over there and create this tension where she's looking out and she's also on the left-hand side of the image, and then balanced out with the space on the right-hand side, and that would really create, this tense image, which would make it really nice. I think personally my overall impression is that it's well done, but just be careful because it's clear to me that you're falling in love with a new culture, and you're seeing everything as beautiful. And sometimes in order to create, images that are more tense, you need to sort of go beyond your own emotion and reaction to the place when you actually took the image and look at the image alone. This is pretty, I think. I quite like this.
It's a bit too busy.
It's a bit too busy, and sort of maybe not that indicative of the place. This I think is interesting. Maybe just a little bit more space on top of his leg. This one I think bothered all of us a little bit. It's a bit posed, but she's not looking at the camera. And it would have made a nicer environmental portrait if you had included a little bit more of the environment around her, basically. This is really good, spot on. This is okay.
Nice slice of life.
Yes.
Overall,
really good.
Yeah.
Proceed.
So, overall, this was the last round to judge. Out of 5, we have 3 successful completion of these panels. Good luck to whoever passed. All right, please keep on working. If you didn't make a grade, that's something that helps you. An experience like this will help you to move on. I've seen a lot of people actually who did not make the grade over here, and they came much stronger. So I would encourage you to
experience that.
The important thing is to learn from the process.
learn from the process. That's important.
I hope we were constructive enough, like it will help in our comments.
What I have noticed today, if you as a judge, you partly judged, but the 3 judges nearly always agree.
Yeah.
You feel they were very much on the same level, which is usually good, because when you've got some people not really agreeing with the others, it can cause problems.
Yeah.
I thank the judges and I thank everybody for coming.
Okay, this is the first panel for the day. The candidate is Mr. Tonio Polidano, and the topic is traffic skills. We have 3 judges, Earl Mallia, and Yasmin Dingli.
Good evening. The title of my panel is called Escapes, and here's what I have to say about it. This presentation of my work brings together the last 3 years of my experiences in travel photography. It shows images taken during my visits to England, Scotland, Wales, Iceland, and Norway, some of which have been captured in remote and challenging locations. I named this project Escapes because of the sense of isolation and distance that the images project. Isolation and distance are 2 words which we have come to hear regularly in the last months since COVID-19. My images came as an antecedent to this pandemic and not resulted because of it. However, the sheer coincidence of the preparation of my work during the period of lockdown carried with it a wish to escape and made me reflect on the difficulty of dealing with confinement and our desire as humans for open spaces that provide reassurance and calm. Escapes is about sourcing and capturing landscapes and seascapes that reveal a sense of tranquility and safety. I have always been inspired by the symmetry and reflections that I see around me, and of course, for reflections to occur, one needs water and light, 2 elements that struck me enormously during my trips to Northern European and Scandinavian countries. It is all about water, light, and space in these places. Reflections therefore come as a natural consequence. My experience took me through no less than 4,000 kilometers of driving in quite a variety of climatic and travel conditions. Each trip felt like a welcome period of escape from our rushed lives to one of reflection and stillness. In spite of their motionlessness, the photographs are not uninhabited. Houses, boats, and bridges provide comforting features of a life unseen. My photography portfolio is in general relatively broad, with having over the last 10 years developed a special bond and fascination for landscapes and seascapes. The more remote the location, the more my shutter would click. Inspired by a number of professional photographers, both locally and internationally, who are specialized in this field, I feel I have found my most comfortable niche, that of scapes and escapes. The capture of cloud formation, land perspectives, rising mountains, and reflecting waters has led me to develop techniques such as long exposure and the use of specific equipment and lenses for such scenery. Through my road trips, I have learned to watch out for contrasting compositions, colors and reflections, echoing my desire for stillness and harmony in my image capture. Escapes is being presented in the form of qualification, panel in full color format. The editing hours have been numerous, but the personal satisfaction and learning curve has been intense. In as much as technique is pivotal to assess my panel, I would also like the judges to consider how the theme of my photography has been quasi-form of prediction for the involuntary isolated life I have been made to lead during these trying times. My trips are now a memory that I cherish and an escape I cannot wait to return. I deeply thank the MIPP and its members, in particular Duncan Cowkey, for being my mentor on this project and for his invaluable input and support in helping me to be well prepared for this exciting moment in my photographic career. Thank you very much.
Pass mark was 270 and you gained 283 points. 283. The pass mark was 270, you gained 283, 283.
Out of 300.
Out of 300. Okay, the judges would like to say.
I will Actually, it was a rather easy panel to judge. Why? Because the first impression I think we all had from speaking to the others when we came out, that it gelled very well. It gelled very well, apart from a few problems. The intent was obvious. In all the pictures, and I had the same feeling as Therese was when I saw them. I said, I wish I was. You know, you have to touch I wish I was there. I mean, because the tranquility oozes out of all the images. Print quality is good. My problem was this image is not of the same level as the others. It's not very artistic, but still it fitted in. And another problem is I would have displayed the panel as 9 and 11. Why? Because I would have had 1, 2 directly in the center. Because it could have improved more as a panel. Another image which was a bit lacking here, but then I'm started to pick hairs. The overall impression I had as soon as I came out and saw it was that it goes above the level right away. This image I love because it reminds me of William White, the American painter of the West. It's very reminiscent of his work. Maybe slight repetition of a bit from this one and that, but again, not enough to not like the panel. I don't know if the others want to say something else.
So, I think you had me at clouds. The clouds won me over. Obviously, I love clouds, but this, it's like painting. You know, it's really nicely done. My favorite is actually this, the atmosphere. Is this Scotland?
That is Island Dome.
Exactly. I've been to Sweden and I tracked in the mountains, so I could associate. So it's like, you know, like a broad track of the memories that I had. And you brought them in a really great way. I mean, there are a few not so artistic images, like this one, but I wasn't really fond of this one, to be honest with you, but not enough to drop it, you know, because the feeling of contentment is there. Maybe something like this would have benefited from a little bit more space. Because, you know, it's a big church, and look at this.
There's
it's a little bit more balanced. But otherwise, there's, you know, I want to be here. I want to be here, you know, I just want to be here. And really, most of the images, like, I want to be here sitting down having an ice cream. And I want to be here to have this like lovely cloud on top of me. Another one which I didn't really find effective is this. I'm not too sure about the massiveness of this compared with this. But again, overall, I love it. I haven't seen some landscapes in a while, and I'm so happy to see them. Yes, that's it. And a small thing, statement of intent is not a biography about what you do. A statement of intent is this: what you wanted to achieve with this project, what was your research, and the all behind it. I'm saying this for you.
Remind me that you have to live in the words of that.
300, it was 300 without that.
Kien 300,
Just
look up, right? A statement of intent.
That's what I did. The intention was to try to get there how and why.
But no, listen.
I agree that you feel it.
I enjoy listening, don't worry.
Good evening, everyone. Now, with this body of work, The Land of Fire and Ice, I want to share my innermost and personal experience that explores the relationship between man and nature. Since this was my first time visiting this amazing country, I had to plan well ahead these images. I want that I wanted to capture, naturally intensive research was needed in order to capture images that echo the message I wanted to deliver. During the whole trip, I felt more alive than usual. The diverse grandiosity of nature that surrounded me, with different elements from beautiful green picturesques to glaciers and volcanoes, made me reflect, at the mystical elements and the power of nature. It was a photographic trip, but at the same time a personal search for my deep relationship with nature. I could not help but realize that my present seemed insignificant and how small we are compared to those vast. From wonderful locations, particularly when untouched by humans, I could not but wonder, that I was in places which had not been changed for millennia. My main goal was to portray that feeling through my lens, to show the viewer the scale of the human figure in relation to the vastness of the land, and to make them possible feel as they are present and experience the connection. It is impossible to convey the grandeur and the feel of those places on a two-dimensional medium, but I try to get as close as possible. As a photographer, I emphasize the emotional recreation of the viewer and the journey of the human state into the wilderness, which portrays the story through landscape photography.
Earl, proceed.
Thank you.
The pass mark was 270, you got 286 marks from the judges, and every judge was very much okay. Therese would like to start saying something, please.
So, landscape and man. There's a whole, I don't know how much research you can really read about. I think that you are one of the few MIPP candidates that has tackled the problem and has been brave enough to put yourself in it. And for that, I give you hats off. Well done.
Thank you.
It's, in my opinion, it's very well executed. There are just a few things. For example, I'd buy the sprint. Think about it. Okay? I would buy this.
Thanks.
So think about, promoting some of these sprints as well for
I'll try to be creative as much as possible.
There is a lot of creativity.
So,
The only few shots that are not so creative would be this. It's nice, it's beautiful.
I can understand that.
And possibly this. Possibly. But these are fun. It shows that you had fun there. You had fun there. It's amazing, it's beautiful. I want to be here.
I wanted to capture something that it combines everything. I want that the viewer feels that there's something in there that actually taking part.
Your statement of intent, I mean, it was gelling 100% completely with this type of work. Now, what I invite you to do is to get out of your comfort zone. So, landscape is your comfort zone. It's very obvious. You're very good at it, and you're brave, and you're not afraid of heights, etc. Next trip, or else, go in your archive and play with double exposures. Play with multiple exposures. Play a lot. Because then you can create abstracts, which you can sell, and print large scale, and you can exhibit. So in my opinion, you have some really great work which you can play with in multiple exposures. If you don't know what it is, I can show you. I'm not a I'm just, but And when I saw, that little man there, I was like, okay, someone is brave, so well done.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
No, I like landscape and men, so.
I agree with what Terry said, all of it, particularly the positive comments I'm not going to repeat. One of my reservations was a bit of duplication between this one and that one at the end, and the light here is not so great. There it's much nicer, I mean here it's rather dull, but it wasn't. And maybe you had a bit of duplicity here in these two. But then, I mean, some images really pick themselves up. I love this, I love that one. That one, I don't know, but this one is really good. And another thing, I'd like to see it. You still have the gloves on? No. I would have liked to see these 4 images in the middle and moving the others there. I think it would have given it a bit more power. Alright, did you feel you want to touch each other and all these go to the other side? Who's going to put in the gloves? I'd love to see it before we put it down.
Thank you.
Can you just put it?
What's your
Oh, well, I agree with Terry, so I would have put the human element. I would have.
Yes.
You should have gone there and sung.
Exactly. No, could you have put yourself here? Or maybe here?
It's a little bit impossible, Terry.
I know the landscape. I haven't been to Iceland, but I've been to Sweden, and I know that the landscape terrain is rough.
And we had some
Just
really
There's no.
Subject is associate again, and this subject is human portraiture. Amanda, can you please read your statement of intent?
So, this portrait series was created from 23 photo shoots with selected 23 models. They are from different ethnicity in Europe with different skin tones. Each model was given the same outfit and the same instructions. The models were placed in a small, boxed and confined space. Metaphorically, this is the world we're living in. They were asked to think about the emotions such as stressed, depressed, worried, confused, and anxious, and use their hands, arms, and face to express the emotions. They were given the opportunity in a place and time to freely express their own unique expressions. It is to demonstrate individual human expressions through different individual life experience and personality.
Human portraiture, Amanda, very well done. Judges were very impressed. 295 out of 300, which is an excellent result. Very well done.
I'll start. So, Amanda, I wish I shot these. Seriously. There is so much emotion in the softness of the woman, which you managed to really. I mean, it takes another woman. Okay, men can try and succeed, but another woman is required. I especially love this one. This one. There's a lot of delicate. It's so tender and vulnerable, and you are brave because you brought out the vulnerability of women. And being vulnerable is also being strong. And you did justice with this project, even the fact that you had a concept of putting them in a box, the concept of putting them in all the same clothes, etc., etc. I really have nothing to say bad, I might, just being picky, I'm not so sure about her eyes. It's like they're not quite close, but you know it's relevant because the message is really strong, and we all agreed on this. So, really great work.
Yasmin, can you please read your statement of intent? Can you come over here?
So Plato once stated that the highest work of beauty lies not in the forms of the real world, but in geometry. The theme of my pen is abstract nature. The concept behind it is a reinterpretation of nature photography in a way which enables the viewer to see the beauty of geometrical designs found in nature, which otherwise are not perceivable by the naked eye. This idea originates from my passion for photographing nature, combined with the discovery of the concept of mandala art. For thousands of years, across many different cultures, mandalas have been used to record the passage of time, symbolize the cosmos, etc. Mandala patterns have also been found in the spontaneous appearance in nature. Research has shown that there are visible regularities of forms or patterns found in the natural world. These natural patterns include symmetry, spirals, meanders, waves, tessellations, and stripes. Very often these geometries are only discernible at a macro level. To create my digital art, I analyzed elements in nature such as plants and insects from a macro perspective. Shooting with a macro lens proved to be an additional challenge to the task. However, it allowed me to see a whole new visual dimension. It also enabled me to detect the underlying geometrical patterns from any association to the original abstraction. Once these patterns were identified, digital manipulation was used to create a more complex geometrical design through radial mirroring. In further developing this technique, I experimented with different forms to adapt this to the image. Form is the interplay of shadows and highlights on an object viewed from close proximity, which gives depth and three-dimensionality to the image. All these techniques contribute to a variety amongst the different entries of the pattern. In so doing, the viewer is engaged not only by the unique geometrical design, but also by the curiosity inspired by the abstract nature of the image, which leaves interpretation open to one's imagination.
Thank you.
Yasmin, proceed to waiter. Judges were very impressed also, and they'd like to say something. Management, keep them.
I wonder how it would look with white borders. I think it would look much better. Never underestimate the power of white borders. It is so versatile and so contemporary that black borders that make it traditional. Duncan pointed out that the black borders it's already going inwards, and the black makes it go inwards. If you balance it with white borders, try it.
It's still a case.
No, I mean, I don't even know where to start. First of all, the wow factor was seriously there. I've seen a lot of mandalas in my life. I've been to Nepal and I bought a mandala, and the concepts are different, but it's all about balance and so on and so forth. I mean, this is excellent work. I enjoyed it. If I have to be picky with you, this one is one that I didn't really resonate with me, but the rest, you know, it's amazing. You get a figurative object and then you play around with it and you create something abstract like this, but still retaining the nature element. So,
again, as I said, it's of Amanda's. It's similar. It's another project.
Yes, it's a project.
Wow factor definitely puts you there. Some advice I'd like to give you: try and find a restaurant, maybe after COVID. a nice upmarket restaurant and display them there.
Yes,
Because these are good to sell, and I will print a couple of them really big, you know, because these are excellent as office focal points, you know. Very, very good. It's not easy because again you might be accused a bit of duplication, but each, although the technique more or less is the same, but each image has different, gives you a different feeling. The only thing I might not have done, maybe this one is a bit too white against all the others. What I would have done if we didn't have a dark toned one, I would have put it somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
To get more of attention there. But I'm not sure about the right borders. I try to check them out.
I think these two should have gone forward.
That one could have gone in the middle as well, because as we know, red pulls you inside. So a red print at the end is putting you out of the panel.
Yes.
Try them out. Who has blood? Għaxin ħal-kalkul bizzil.
Okay, with bastards illum.
Okay, with bastards.
Titla fuq xi suq
This is the photography, guys. This is what everyone. Amanda don't agree with me. We don't just shoot images to be pretty images. We shoot also to sell.
Nizzel da.
To sell. We have to think outside the box.
L-axħar
Issa, daw it-nej, għadaw
fuq. Dak tal-il-inflaħ. Dak tal-il-inflaħ.
U tal-ħaxix.
Dik għannatis. Some of them can really work very well in black and white. This. Try those in black and white, even this. Black and white can be even more abstract than.
That was the green one.
No, I love the color. I love the color. I hate just saying well done, well processed. What I like is to give feed forwarding. How can you improve your work? How can you make it different? Because if I give you feedback, yes, they grow, but how can you get out of your comfort zone? Because now this became your comfort zone, right? Because you love it and you master it. Now, how can you make it different? Maybe not everyone has green interiors. Maybe, you know, a client might get bored of always that color, so go black and white. And black and white is timeless. So, you know, you always think outside the box.
Which is your favorite print? You too.
One.
I really like this.
love
It's like
Yeah, that's how the cup.
This one and that.
That's how the cup. That's how the
green,
cup.
green. I'm a green lover.
Għawri, bifakkarni fil-madum li kella nanti. Da, vera, x'kien rajtu l-invitation, da.
Yes, it's this.
Jiena l-unika ħaġa, dan, naqra sfukat. L-unika ħaġa li ngħidlek minn ħorra, l-bija.
So because minħabba l-macro lens, you shot this with a macro lens.
L-oħrajn forta, da ċar, fejn kellu ċar.
Now your next project is this. You shoot with a macro lens. You strike me as a little bit reserved and timid as a person. Okay, now be bold, shoot with a 24. Now go wide. After this project, go wide.
Yes. Kif għallek naħseb gbar.
Yeah.
Mux 60 by 60.
One by one.